Hey everyone, it's I, Billy the Conqueror here, and today I'm just walking on my way to the gym to work out. So, while I'm walking, I kind of just want to share my thoughts on the whole, Comicsgate controversy that's been going on. Because now, independent publisher by the name of Alterna Comics is getting the brunt of the SJW assault due to the fact that some of the creators have tweeted their appreciations for people who had used the Move the Needle hashtag to talk very nicely about their work, which in turn caused SJW creators to attack them due to the fact that they're associating Move the Needle with Comicsgate, and therefore they think Move the Needle is another harassment campaign and a way for bigots to basically get their way into comics, which is total bullshit. That's basically what's been going on lately. So the response to this has basically shown just how insane and deranged these SJW creators really are and stuff, which is a problem with the entire progressive left as a whole, because, progressives, it's all about the revolution, the cultural war, the wanting to make sure everyone believes what they believe in, and wanting to basically turn comic books into their own personal safe space, which is what's killing the medium right now. So the reality is that these comic book creators are extremely dangerous to the industry, because, see, the difference between right-wing creators and left-wing creators is right-wingers, for the most part, believe in capitalism. Now, you have the alt-right or the far-right or wherever, people who basically praise highly of, like, say, Nazi Germany, who basically, are critical of the capitalist society. Those types of supposed right-wingers, although they act more like left-wingers than right-wingers, in my opinion. They may try to do stuff that is economically unsound, but the reality is that free market capitalism is the way to go, and the right wing believes in that. Hence why a lot of books, even if they're political, still can make a lot of money. Like My Hero Macadamia is a parody, but it is a political book. It makes a good amount of money. Same thing with Thump, The First 100 Days. So the idea that no politics means that the comic book's going to do bad is bullshit. As long as you have a good story and really interesting, entertaining characters, people are going to read it regardless of the politics. And the problem with progressive creators is that they don't have a very good story. The characters themselves are very bland and uninteresting and not entertaining. And they think of using the comic book as a mouthpiece for their political agenda rather than trying to let the politics flow with the story, So the story is thought of secondly, so it's just the politics. That's the only thing. There's nothing interesting like that. It's just a very basic and bland story that basically has all sorts of politics forced into it. So essentially, the Move the Needle hashtag has been associated with Comicsgate. So for those of the people who wanted to use the Move the Needle hashtag as an alternative to Comicsgate to avoid negative PR, that basically failed. So now they've basically got insane over the Move the Needle hashtag. So this is an example of, I like to call it, Comicsgate derangement syndrome, kind of like Trump derangement syndrome, but with Comicsgate, which makes perfect sense. So you have these people who are constantly attacking fans, blocking people, being extremely unprofessional, and they basically are now thinking that this is the right way to do morals. It's like, sure, you can have your morals, but when you make them go broke and you make the entire company go broke, then you're going to basically destroy the industry in the process. So yeah, it's just total bullshit. And it's just pretty much insane how these people are basically being supported by, the shill comic book media, which is hurting the industry. And their excuse is that at least they're morally right, even if they bankrupt the entire industry. And like I said, this is basically what we're dealing with right now, is if these people can't see the reality of the damage that they're doing to the comic book industry, then they're basically going to cause the entire medium to collapse. Fortunately, there are several indie developers that are seeing through all this bullshit and are trying to, produce good comic books that people are going to buy. So right now, my suggestion to people who are interested in getting into the industry, make good stories, make good comic books, try and make a name for yourself, and let them come to you, and try to be a good influence in the industry to get the sales back up, and to basically change the culture away from being almost like a hobby to being a vibrant industry that people like adults, kids, and all sorts of people will like be into. Because right now the industry is almost like it's like a hobby shop, kind of something that doesn't make a huge amount of money, but it caters to a specific crowd. And the problem with progressives, what they do is they basically make comic books cater to a specific crowd, so they make it the problem even worse rather than make it better, because the people that they're catering to are essentially a minority of minority. And logical economics and business would dictate that trying to appeal to a minority within a minority, because comic book readers are a minority when it comes to the entertainment industry, like say movies, manga, anime, cartoons, TV shows, and the latter. In terms of pop culture, comic book fandom is a minority. So by trying to appeal to a minority of the minority, you are basically using a very bad business practice that is going to end up in tons of companies losing money, and basically people viewing the medium as being a very bad investment in their time and money. So that's what these SJW creators don't understand, or just don't care about, because to them it's merely just a propaganda piece. It all plays back into socialist realism. Socialist realism was basically an art form used by communist Russia to basically convey a utopian view of the Soviet society, basically like a paradise, a communist paradise where everyone's happy, no one's starving, no one's being oppressed, and all that, which is a total lie. It's basically propaganda in the form of art, and that's basically what SJW comics are like. They're basically propaganda in the form of a comic book, falling off of socialist realism introduced by Joseph Stalin. So it's one of the reasons why they're so crazy, because they want to desperately believe in this fantasy land that they're living in, and that they're using their comic books to reaffirm their beliefs, which is total fiction. So they are going crazy when their fantasy land gets broken, or people challenge the notion that this fantasy is a reality. Essentially, it's like a drug addict. When a drug addict doesn't have their drugs, they begin to go through instances of pain, anger, emotional instability, and all sorts of reactions because they don't have the drug. Hence why when it comes to trying to get off the drugs, it becomes very difficult, because your body is so used to these substances and being in it. So I view these SJW creators are kind of like people who are on drugs. It makes them emotionally unstable, it makes them crazy, it makes them irrational, and it's just completely insane. So yeah, to these SJW creators, SJW comic books are basically like their drugs, and like real drugs, it has a very horrible and nasty side effect on their brains, which is why the entire industry is falling apart. So my personal opinion, best solution is to not buy their comic books, demand better, stay true to your beliefs, do not bend the knee, stay firm, do not worry about all the hit pieces and stuff, because we're still winning, we're still making a lot of money, and to support the creators that you do like, and support the good stuff. So that's the best way to do it, because it looks like right now mainstream comic books might be coming to an end, and we might eventually have to settle on indie creative publishers, kind of like all the crowdfunding campaigns that's been happening, like say Cyberfrog, Jawbreakers, Trump Space Force, and all those other indie comics that are created by the Comicsgate creators. So this could be the future of comic books. And crowdfunding projects are not a long-term solution. They're a short-term solution. The long-term solution is to use the money created by crowdfunding projects to try and make your own publishing company or to have a publishing company with a consistent amount of readers and amount of readers who can, basically get it going, and to basically be able to come in and become part of the big three or the big two of the publishers. That's just my personal opinion. So that to me should be the end goal, is to try and come up with their own publishing companies. Kind of like how Image started off very small and then it became a very big publisher for indie comics, creator-owned and independent comics. So that's my opinion, is how Comicsgate should move on forward when it comes to these crowdfunding campaigns, is to try and start their own publishing companies and maybe be able to actually compete with the bigger comic books. That would be a really nice long-term solution. So we'll have to see. Anyway, that's all I have to say. If you like what you saw, then please hit the like button, subscribe. This is your Conqueror Billy signing out.